This square little guy is called the Gotcha SP. It's probably the strangest looking Game Boy mod that I've seen yet. It almost looks like something Nintendo would have released in an alternate universe. And all it is a Game Boy Advance SP with the top ripped off and a 3D printed case on top. Alright, it's a little more than that, but that's how we got to this weird shape. And I know what you're thinking, and you're right. This is not the most comfortable way to play your Game Boy Advance games. There's just nowhere to grip the thing. But that's not really what this is about. This is about getting a Game Boy Advance SP to be as small as possible, as cool looking as possible, as easy as possible. And besides, you could just grip it like this instead of like this. And I've seen this design floating around the past couple of months. It's designed by Joseph Tompkins, who does a lot of other cool stuff. But it was this video by your cool uncle Marissa that got me interested in it. Then everyone kept sending me that video, and now here we are. So it sounds easy. It's essentially just a 3D printed case that you put on top of the bottom half of a Game Boy Advance SP. But take another look at it. How do you go from all of this to just this? It's actually a huge pain in the ass, it turns out. I don't do a lot of super complex mods, and this one isn't the most complex that I've done by far, but it's definitely not easy. It's not that it's time consuming, it's just getting everything to fit in there with my big, sweaty, meaty man hands. It is no small feat. There's also 2 versions of this on PCBWay, and I think that I accidentally ordered the older one. So a lot of the issues that I have with this might have even been fixed in the newer revision. Hey, maybe delete that old one off of there, would you? I actually think I got the older one because I liked how the front was smooth. It's no big deal. They look like a bitch to print, so I just ordered them from PCBWay. This is my first time ordering from PCBWay. You've heard of them. They sponsor a ton of YouTubers. This video is not sponsored by PCBWay, so I can say whatever the hell I want about them. This video is, however, sponsored by Trade. This video is sponsored by Trade. Bet you weren't expecting a coffee recipe in this video, were ya? Springtime. You know what that means? Lavender syrup. All the coffee shops are doing it. This is an easy one. It's just simple syrup made with what is essentially just lavender tea. What we're gonna do is we're gonna use this Dune coffee sent to us by Trade because of its subtle notes of hazelnut and red apple. Trade is a coffee subscription service that adapts your coffee preferences and matches you with coffees that you'll love. And that's how I discovered this delicious blend. Now you can just put this syrup right into a coffee or latte just like they do in a coffee shop. I like to put it in the milk before I froth it. We're gonna pull a shot, put a little oat milk in there, shake it up in a martini shaker, make it iced. Oh, look at him, he thinks he's getting some. And we're gonna finish it off with a blend of lavender syrup, oat milk, and ice cream. So it's like a cold foam of springtime on top. I like going to coffee shops whenever I can, but I don't live in Brooklyn anymore, and there's like none around here. Trade brings those coffee shops to me. It's one of the few sponsors that I actually used daily before they even sponsor me, and I still use them daily. And you can try it for yourself over at drinktrade.com/wolfden, spelled just like that, and get yourself a free bag of fresh coffee with any subscription purchase. So this was my first time ordering from PCBWay, and I would do it again. It was great. It took about 2 to 3 weeks for everything to get to me, and they had to make all of the stuff that I ordered, and I went a little bit nutty with it. I ordered the front case and inside middle piece printed in clear resin, and I also ordered them in printed aluminum because I thought that sounded awesome. I'm not sure I would recommend the aluminum because there will be zero give, and I'm not sure that the screw holes will cooperate. Also, I didn't know what I was doing, and I ordered it unfinished, so it has this sandpaper-like finish that makes my fingernails tingle. Ugh. Oh, it feels so terrible. It just feels so bad. I also ordered the button boards in white because I thought white was cool. I think I only paid $5 for these, and they gave me 5, so this is fine, because these will be great for future projects. If you just got the case parts and the button PCB, I think you have to order a minimum of 5. It should run you somewhere around like 50 bucks, I don't know, math. That middle piece that you need to print looks like it would be a huge bitch to print, which is why I just had PCBWay do it. In fact, PCBWay hit me up and said that they messed up the middle piece. There was an air bubble in it. It's the inside piece though, so I really don't give a f. So I said, sure, whatever, send it anyway. And they did, and it's fine. Everything's fine. It's not an issue at all. I'm sure they would have redid it if I wanted them to, but it's fine. But that's not all that you need for this mod. Shout out to your cool Uncle Marissa for laying this all out. You need the case, the button board, a specific speaker that I ordered off of eBay and I'll link below. These specific switches that I ordered and couldn't find for some stupid reason, so I used these switches from a random box I got off of Amazon. You'll also need a GBA SP Funny Playing IPS screen. Make sure it's the GBA SP one. And of course, a GBA SP with a tattoo design on it. It actually has to be the one with a tattoo design on it, because if you don't use that one, you're actually gonna miss out on being cool. Optionally, get a set of buttons for style points. I ordered these buttons off of Amazon because I thought I had some and I didn't, and these came in one day. So with all of this stuff, excluding the GBA SP, it cost around $100 grand total, which really isn't too bad for a GBA SP mod. This whole process could probably take you around an hour, hour and a half if you speed run through it and get everything right. It took me about 5 hours spread across 3 different days, maybe even longer than that. Most of that time was spent frantically looking around for all the stuff that I bought.
Where is it?
I spent the first day soldering the switches to the button board. These are the exact same size as the ones recommended, and they don't line up all that well. You have to kind of drag the solder across. The PCB could have had a little more room on it, but after 30 minutes of cursing, it was done and fine. And I only broke one of the switches. Next, you have to wire the buttons. There's a little wiring map on one of the listings on PCBWay that one of my Twitch viewers ported me towards because it wasn't on the listing that I bought for some reason. All of the contacts on the board are very small, and there are a lot of wires. This becomes a problem when you're trying to close it too, because all these wires create mass that have to go somewhere. I may have a future solution to this, but we'll talk about that later. With all that wired, I waited till the next day because I needed to wait for my cool new buttons to arrive, and also, I just didn't want to do it all in one day. Sue me. Then I put the screen in, all the buttons, and another issue we ran into is that the button membranes do not fit. This sort of thing needs its own custom membranes or something. Actually, it doesn't need membranes at all. It doesn't need conductive anything because it's got tactile switches in there. Maybe it needs its own custom designed buttons to reach those tactile switches. As it is right now, though, you do kind of need the membranes in order to hold this whole thing together. So I just got to cutting the membranes. It's pretty jank. They don't really sit all that great. The only ones that do are the A and B button membranes because those don't have to be cut at all. But whatever, we'll move past this. Then comes closing the goddamn thing. Hands down the hardest part. There's no technique to this. You just have to kind of sandwich the whole thing closed, maneuvering the wires to be in a position with the most amount of space and screwing in the sides at the right spots while you're squeezing the whole thing. Eventually it did close, but just like old Unky Marissa, our sandwich has not fully closed. And unlike Uncle Marissa, left doesn't work, B button doesn't work, down is right, and right is down. So I think I f***ed up a little bit. Also, I forgot the speaker because it was left out of the original version. So, filled with dread, I have to open this thing back up again. The next day, I got back in there and rewired all the problem areas. Instead of putting it back together, I just added +2 to my dexterity and held the screen and battery together with one hand while I pressed some buttons with the other to test it. Eventually, I got everything to work. The left button switch just needed to be resoldered. I didn't actually know where to put the speaker, so I just kind of shoved it in here. That is, in fact, not where it goes. It goes in like the bottom right corner. I don't see anywhere where there's, oh, there is space. There's totally space in there. Oh, God damn it. Then I spent another 30 minutes shoving the whole goddamn thing together when catastrophe struck.
Ooh, I broke the top of the case!
I broke the sodding top of the case. This clear resin here is not the strongest. This didn't actually ruin the whole build, as you can see. The resin was also stripped away where some of the screw holes were, probably from screwing and unscrewing. It's just a little weak. In some spots, I used some M2, I think 4mm laptop screws I had laying around. You might also consider getting those for this build. They screw in way better than the original Game Boy screws. I think they're the same size, but they just work better for me. Finally, we have a closed, somewhat closed, a working, somewhat working, Game Boy Advance SP. Left still doesn't work. I don't know how that happened. I tested it before I closed it. Also, this entire D-pad just feels awful. There's way too much pressure on it. A and B feel fine, but they also don't feel that great either. And it has nothing to do with the fact that this has clicky switches. I actually love clicky switches. The broken top part of the case was actually not a problem at all. That was easily remedied by a dab of super glue after the whole thing was put together. And it looks like nothing ever happened. Except now the screen kind of doesn't sit right. It sits on like a weird angle. Also, this speaker is so incredibly low. That's max volume. It could be just because it's behind the screen facing it, so the sound really doesn't have much place to go. There's two things that I think could potentially make this mod better, and the first one is just use the new design for the top case. That might fix a lot of the issues that I have. I have a potential solution for that mess of wires we gotta shove into here. I got this idea from Retroflag, who makes a flex PCB for like the Game Boy Color. It's like a sound amplifier, something. I don't know. I'm sure they're not the only ones that do this. I learned how to make a PCB for a different project using KiCad or KiCad, however you call it, and that went pretty well. So I decided to open that back up again and try to make a flex PCB that will hopefully perfectly overlay the Game Boy Advance SP circuit board in all of the correct spots. Instead of a mess of wires, you'll just have one ribbon cable leading from the main board to the button board. Of course, you'll still have to solder all of those points, but it'll be a lot easier. Although I do not have the new button board. That one, I think, has everything in the same spot, but it adds a VCC contact. That is only necessary for LEDs, if you want some lights. So if you want that, you'll have to run the wire yourself. You will need to run the wire to the speaker hookup. I routed the speaker so it will be easier to wire, but you'll still need to run a cable because I'm not sure where that will line up. I'm uploading this to GitHub. I've never ordered a PCB before, and I've never uploaded to GitHub before. So I'm doing that so people can like do pull requests and stuff. And I'm open to notes if anybody has any suggestions. The best place to reach me is either on GitHub or on my Twitter right here. Do not DM me unless we're mutuals. Reply to me publicly, please. As it stands right now, I would say this is pretty difficult and only worth it if you want a cool looking Game Boy Advance SP. Maybe something nice for your desk. It's not exactly something I want to play. The Boxy Pixel Metal Game Boy Advance is one that I regularly play. But maybe the updated case design fixes things?
Well, I could have sworn that the new files were available for download, but it looks like they're not. I downloaded the old files, but it looks like they're not available for download anymore. So I don't know what happened there. Anyway, I'm not sure that's gonna fix my left D-pad issue. I opened this thing up, I backed off the screws a little bit, and it feels better. Still gotta open it up and resolder the left pad because that's not working for some reason. I did make the Flex PCB, it's right here. I uploaded it to GitHub, so if anybody who knows better wants to take a look at it, feel free to do a pull request or something. I'm gonna go ahead and order a sample, and I'll order another sample if somebody gives me some usable feedback. So don't go download this off of GitHub and order it right now. Wait a little bit. It probably won't take too long. It's also my first time doing anything like this, so be nice to me. I'm learning here just like everybody else. I will probably be taking a look at this over on twitch.tv/Wolfden tonight at like 8 p.m., usually Eastern, so we can go over it in real time too. These aren't real glasses. Anyway, what do you guys think about the Gotcha SP? I loved the way this thing looked and I really wanted to like it, but I'm gonna have to stick with my Boxy Pixel. Leave it in the comments below. Add me on Twitter, any and all of this other social media garbage. Of course, the most important thing you could do to help support this channel is just subscribe right here. Check out wolfdenapparel.com if you want all those desk mats you've seen throughout this video. And of course, share this video with a friend who wants a little more of like an expert level mod to do. Maybe they can come out of it a little better than me. Thank you very much. Have yourself a good week.